Welcome to the Utah Street Banter Podcast.
Welcome to another episode here on the Utah Street Banter Podcast. I'm Cody. With me, like always, is Elijah. How you doing, buddy?
I was doing good before I had to come here and talk about this. You know, I was thinking about it, and we were at the game Tuesday, and it did not go the way we wanted it to. Very quiet car ride. And then Wednesday, I watched the game, and I've tried my best not to think about it since then. I will say that I know for the past couple of episodes, I've not been wearing my Orioles gear, but most of the people on my campus, they actually don't recognize me that much without a hat on, because I'm always wearing hats. That's something me, Cody, my dad, we always wear hats. Well, it's been tough because about 95% of my hats are Orioles hats, and I have refused to put a piece of Orioles gear on since Wednesday. I've been rocking my Cowboys hat ever since.
Yeah,
big win on Monday Morning Football.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, it's been real sad. It's been really sad.
Yeah,
I've been watching some of the other playoff games, and it doesn't feel like baseball because like they actually hit the ball. It's weird.
You know what it feels like? Like the day after Christmas. Like
yes.
Nobody wears a Christmas shirt the day after Christmas, and you can't watch Santa Claus or Elf. You can't watch Elf the day after Christmas. It's over. That's kind of how this feels right now. But yeah, just in case you were living under a brick, we lost the first two games of the series. I mean, the game we were at, it's funny because normally I have a whole sheet of the box scores and stuff, and I didn't even bring it up. It's not even my computer right now.
I can sum it up for us. They scored and we didn't.
We didn't. Corbin Burns did amazing.
So this is actually conversations that happened between me and Cody. Basically the only conversation were like before the seventh inning, because for those of you that don't know Cody, once it starts getting rough, he kind of doesn't talk that much. So basically after that, there was no talking going on from him. But it was at the beginning of the game, Corbin was doing great. I was like, well, just give him a blank contract, whatever he wants. Give him the blank check, the checkbook, throw it all at him. Give him the whole. He can have the warehouse. Give it all to him.
Yeah.
And then by about the eighth, ninth inning, I was like, well, if I had to guess, this solidifies Corbin Burns will not be an Oriole next year.
So he did amazing for us though. And between the two games, it was one of those things where obviously pitching wasn't really much of an issue for us.
No.
And I like your This Week in Baseball. We have a segment and it's called This Week in Baseball, where we go over what happened. That's not Orioles related, and pretty much right now that's everything baseball related.
Yeah.
But I like that you put we should all become Royals fans for
only
a
for
series.
Only for a series.
Yeah.
No, like earlier today when I was at dinner, I was in the dining hall and I walked by someone I know, and so I'm a part of a spike ball club here on my school, and he comes. I was asking him if he was coming. He said no. I was like, oh, why? And that's why he's a Yankees fan. So he said that he was actually having a watch party for the game, and I'm sure he felt sorry for me because I just got so sad after he said that. I was like, oh yeah, that's still happening. I was like, well, I'm sorry to hope you know that I am rooting against you. He's like, I understood that. And then he's like, I'm really sorry though. I was like, yeah, it's just, I don't even know what to do. I hate the Royals with every bone in my body at this point. More than I already do. They ruined my childhood in 2014, and then here they are. And you know what? If they could do what they did in 2014 and make it to the World Series, though, I'd be okay with that.
Yeah.
I'd be perfectly fine with that.
I mean, I hate to say it, but there's a lot of people on that team I like. I love Bobby Witt.
Like, what's there not to like?
Salvador Perez.
They're similar to us in a way. They're a lot of young guys. A lot of guys that have kind of just fought and stuff. And it's awesome to see. There's some guys on there, obviously, that and then you have even like the Kyle Isbells, who no one knows that. Michael Massey, some young guys that are making a name for themselves, and it's great. That's what the Orioles should be doing right now.
Right. It's funny because we were at the game, and like there was only really 3 people in that lineup that I was like, oh, that guy can do something. You know, and that to me, that was Bobby Witt, Salvador Perez, and
Vinny Pasquantino.
Yeah. So those were your 3, and I was like, well, you know what? If don't let them guys beat you, we're fine.
And the Royals knew that too, because you saw what did they do when they scored their one run? Corbin Burns walked someone and he stole on him.
Yep.
Took advantage. They moved him over, and then Bobby Witt did. The one thing that we said is you can't let Bobby Witt Jr. beat you. And I don't know if one RBI single, two RBI singles between the two games is him beating you, but that's all it took to beat us.
Yeah, true.
But also, when you don't hit, you don't hit.
Yep, true. So let's get to our.
I have my trivia first.
You got a trivia. Let's go.
Yeah, so I have my trivia first. So on October 6th, who had more RBIs and more home runs than the Baltimore Orioles?
On October 6th?
Yeah, so that was Sunday. Mark Vientos versus the Phillies had 2 home runs and 4 RBIs. That's
really?
more. He had more home runs than the Orioles scored runs. So I just thought that's
crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah, I just thought that was interesting. He kind of beat up the Phillies. Obviously, I watched the Phillies Mets game the other day. That was a great game. What else can you? That's what postseason baseball should be, back and forth and stuff. Love the emotion. I'm close to a lot of Phillies fans here, so I kind of hear their misery and their loss and stuff like that. But I root for the people. I root for my friends as fans, but I root against the city of Philadelphia. I really like this Mets team.
Yeah, me too.
Jose Iglesias is a former Oriole. I'll always root for him, but this is just me for right now in the National League. I'm just rooting for good baseball. In the American League, I'm rooting for the Yankees to lose. That's all I've got left to win. That's all they're left for me to do.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, if the Yankees lose, I really don't care who wins the World Series on the American side.
I fully on the American League
Guardians.
Side, I want I like the Guardians, and the Royals beat us, but other than that, I'm fine with them. I really like this Tigers team. I don't know why. There's just something about them.
They're good. Yeah. Getting to our takeaways from the postseason. I'll do one, and if you want to do one, so we got 3 of them. Yep. So the first one I got is that young talent that's good during the regular season doesn't always translate to the playoffs.
Yeah.
So that's sort of what it seemed to be, right? So it seemed like, the same swagger that some of our young guys had during the regular season, especially in spurts, didn't translate. But also I said that because I think we're good I think we're a good team in a 7-game series right now. But must win, series, like a 3-gamer, it just, I don't know. It just doesn't seem like we had much of a chance. So, like, we were at the game and we were down by 1 run, and it felt like we were down by 10. It just seemed like each player was playing, each Oriole was playing individual baseball, not team baseball. And you could see that because we kept hitting pop flies because everybody was trying to hit a home run. Because they were all trying to be that guy, right? But just couldn't do it. But that's kind of how I feel right now. Just a little bummed by that. That doesn't mean it's not going to happen in the future, but that's definitely saying where I think maybe some of us, including myself, jumped the gun on thinking that we were going to be extremely talented in the playoffs immediately. I think, next year after, I think we'll get better and better and better.
Yeah.
I think I'm trying to be okay with this, that if we have these guys for 7 years and we win 1 World Series, that was a win for us. So maybe year 5 in Gunner's contract, we win a World Series, and we'll totally forget about this show that we're doing right now.
Yeah, because I think just going off of what you like, the most recent thing about the winning World Series in, say, year 5, I don't even think the biggest thing for us, me as an Orioles fan, and probably all of us, is that we don't even need to see a World Series right now. A win, an individual game win, is more than what we've gotten.
Yeah.
I don't care if it's even if we lose a series. If I'd love for us to score more than 1 run in a series.
Yeah. I mean, the thing that got me was, I know when I was watching Game 2. I was watching Game 2 on TV. They were talking about how powerful the Orioles have been, and Adley comes up and man, he could really do something. And he takes a strike right down the middle, and they were so surprised we weren't hitting. And I'm sitting here going, except for Ben McDonald.
Yeah, because he's been there to see it.
I was like, you other two haven't watched the Orioles.
Yeah,
you're looking at the averages, and the averages look great. I was like, but that was pre All-Star break.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they were world beaters before the All-Star break, which really what happened since then is the numbers have just been falling.
Yeah.
You know,
Because you look at it as a whole, it's not a terrible number.
No.
But if you really look closely, if you look at Adley's 709 OPS, you say, well, that's not good to start. Well, if you look at it, that he's had 3 or 4 home runs or whatever it was in the whole second half.
Yeah.
That's why it's been really, really bad. And that's why, kind of going on to my first takeaway, is that something needs to happen with our coaching staff.
Yeah.
Just something needs to change. We know Brandon Hyde's going to be back next year, and I don't think necessarily he's to blame. I don't. Who knows who to blame here? Is there an individual person you could blame? Is it a philosophy? Because I know this year we're much more home run heavy. This year's offense at the beginning of the year reminded me much more of a Buck Showalter type offense, right?
Right.
You're relying more on a home run, more driving the ball. And I think when you have a team with a Chris Davis and a Nelson Cruz and a Mark Trumbo, that works. This team, we have a Gunnar Henderson and an Anthony Santander that can hit a lot of home runs. But we are such an athletic team. We should be stealing bases. Jordan Westbrook should have more than 5 or 6 stolen bases on the year, whatever he has. He's an athletic guy. We should be having these singles turned into doubles, advancing runners over, just putting the ball in play. It's that simple. We sat there. How many times did the Orioles pop out to second base in the game that we were at? It was at least like 4 or 5 times.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's insane. I don't understand why you don't just put the ball in play and see what happens. I don't get it. I don't know if it's. I mean, we have Mac Borschalti and Ryan Fuller hitting coaches. Is it them? Is somewhere in there the problem is? I don't know. Is it Cody Ashe? He's an offensive strategy coach. I don't know really what that even means. But is it something with him? Just something has to change.
Yeah.
And I don't think you can pitch. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. But like our pitching wise, like Drew French, I think you can't blame him for any of our pitching. All of our pitching problems this year was purely injury based.
Yeah,
and
he's our MVP of our coaching staff.
100%. Because what are you supposed to do with what you have? And the only pitching problems, the only arguments you can have about our pitching staff and the way it was handled is maybe our bullpen usage and how guys were pulled into certain times. But that's just every once in a while. I think it purely comes down to our offensive strategy and how the second half of the year we fell apart.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing I saw coaching wise is just the approach on the offensive side. Like, I think that was the annoying part that, I think that's where you're seeing a lot of people get on Hyde, but I don't think Hyde's the guy you're getting mad at. I think I think the way this team is and this new style, there's so many other coaches that are, in the, inside mechanics, inside the players' heads, and Hyde's more of the mentor, the lineup build. I think when you're looking at approach and stuff like that, that's not what he's doing. And that's front office build, though.
Exactly. And that's all the way up top with Mike Elias, Sig Mejdal,
right.
Yves Rosenbaum. That's when you get up there. Obviously, I'm not saying to get rid of Mike Elias. I know I've had plenty of conversations with different people that throughout the year have gone completely differently, whether it's I love Mike Elias, I hate Mike Elias. I know all this podcast I said with Mike Elias, like in Mike Elias we trust.
Yeah.
But there becomes a certain point that whether him or the people that he has hired, something's not working and something has to change. And I don't know where that even has to start. I feel like I'm smarter than the average person baseball wise, but this isn't something that I don't know what the answer is for this. And I don't think a lot of people know what the answer is. I think this is something Mike Elias may have an idea and something I would hope to see a change in the coaching staff before next year. And I'd hope to see a big difference in approach by next year.
Absolutely. Yeah. So we'll see. I mean, my second takeaway is that our pitching surprised me in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And one big one that, like, we all expected Burns to do great, but guys, I'm excited for Zach Eflin in 2025. Yeah, we have him for a whole nother season. What a trade. That's probably the best trade probably in all of baseball. During the trade deadline. So it was one of those things where he comes out and he pitched just like Burns. I mean, they dominated, did great through strikes, so that was one of the biggest things. I thought if we lost, that's how we were going to lose. We were going to lose because of our pitching.
No, 100%.
Our bullpen, perfect. Well, yeah, good. You know what I
Well,
mean?
I mean, yet again, we gave up 2 runs in the second game.
Yeah, I mean, what are you gonna do?
2 runs. That's the major league average for a game. I think is 4 or 5. That's nothing.
Yeah, so that was the biggest thing. I mean, if there's anything to take away on the positive side, well, there's a couple, but the pitching was just immaculate. So really happy.
No, and like you said, I'm super excited for Eflin. I mean, if I had to guess, he's opening day starter next year, unless we re-sign Burns or sign some other pitcher, which I just highly doubt.
Yeah, because
I know we'll look forward in the future probably of our projected roster and stuff like that closer to the beginning of spring training, which is way looking forward in the future. But I don't foresee us having probably a better pitcher than Eflin, because Kyle Bradish, who I would put above Eflin, isn't going to be healthy by opening day.
No.
So it's going to be interesting to see what he looks like. I'm really excited. Like you said, definitely best Orioles trade by far, and probably best pitching trade of the deadline. 100%.
Absolutely.
And then my next one, also kind of regarding next year, is what does Santander's future hold? Because he did not come through at all in many, many big moments. And I think throughout the offseason, Orioles fans are going to think of game 2, you had Cedric had the home run.
Yeah.
Right? And we're feeling good. And we have bases loaded, no outs. He swings at 3 straight balls and pops out.
Yep.
It's just, that's not what you've seen from him at all this season.
Right.
And I think that's him trying to do too much. And that also, that might be approachy. And again, that might be coming from the coaching staff. Who knows? We should not have had bases loaded, no outs with Anthony Santander up. And if he didn't strike out, there should have been a run produced.
Right. Yeah, I agree. I think Anthony Santander was our team captain this year.
Yeah.
And I think it would be great to keep him. Here's my only issue is the last time that we paid somebody after they had the best season of their career, we are still paying him. His name is Chris Davis. I also will listen to your argument. Don't turn off our podcast. I'm not saying he's Chris Davis. That's not what I'm saying. What I am saying is you're paying for the next year, you will be paying for 2024's version of Anthony Santander. And he deserves every bit of it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? But you'll never get it again. I could be wrong. And I would love to be wrong. Right? But I think this year was an epic year for him. He helped us he put our team on his back the whole entire second half.
Yeah.
We rode his back. He did amazing. I love him. I mean, I went from thinking he was part of the group that we need to get rid of as we get these young core a couple years ago. I'm glad I was wrong because he was great. But I think I don't think this is going to happen. Okay. But I think if we were to pay him $120 for 5 years, I think it would be a mistake.
I think the only way Anthony Santander signs back with us is if he really wants to be an Oriole.
Yeah.
I think that's only because I don't foresee him. I think, like you said, a 5 for 120. I think he gets a deal 5 years. Yeah, that's probably the max that he'd get, because I think Anthony Santander could be a guy that plays for another 10 years possibly as a DH only for a while, and just kind of a bat. That's all he is, and that's getting to be what more and more he is now. But obviously, he's still a really, really good bat. I just think I don't think the Orioles would offer him more than 3 years. I really don't, because it'd be too risky on their side, and maybe they throw in more of a higher AAV, which is annual value on the contract. Maybe he gets a higher AAV than he would for 3 years normally. Maybe he gets 20, 25 a year, maybe 25, 30 a year, something like that. And say he gets 80 for 3, maybe. That's more than what he's probably worth, but that's the Orioles trying to help him out a little bit. That's depending how much they want to spend.
Yeah.
I just
I feel you. Elijah, do me a favor. When I hit my third point here, can you look up how much we've paid him throughout his contract?
Well,
I'm just curious. Do you have it?
I have. I think I might. Yes. So
Yeah.
his
What do you got?
career earnings is $25.9 million. He's made 11.7 this year.
Yeah. I mean, so like, here's my thing is if he comes back and plays against the Orioles, everybody deserves to give him a standing ovation because it's one of those things where at some point you have to provide like for your family and the future of your
Yeah.
family. So I as much as I'd love to see him on the Orioles, and I would, you know what I mean. I also will not be. I will not have any hate towards him if he tries to get paid for the first time
No,
in his career.
absolutely not.
You know what I mean? Like this is his time. This is it. So for
As
him,
long as it's not the Yankees.
yeah.
As long as it's not the Yankees.
I think you're looking at like a Giants. I think
Yeah.
put him in.
Yeah.
But so like I think
he's
if
gonna be.
if I was him,
sorry.
I'd be well, go ahead and take care of yourself,
No.
buddy.
Yeah, he's gonna be the ones that we look back on. We think of fondly. You have memories of him playing back in 2019, 2020, 2021 with the really bad Orioles, and he was kind of the light through the darkness, and he's carried us out. And I would love for him to be on the Orioles next year. I feel like if the Orioles, if what we've been told up to this point and what it looks like we're going to spend more money, I think Elias is going to be very smart with how he spends his money, and he might feel that what Santander deserves and what he should get isn't going to be what the Orioles are able to come up with.
Yeah, and also I will say this is I'm gonna try to equate it to like what people the average fan can kind of understand. So basically, it's sort of like if I have a fantasy football team and I didn't make the playoffs or I didn't do good in the playoffs, I'm not going to draft the same exact fantasy football team next year expecting a different result.
Yeah.
So this is the one guy where he's the guy, a replaceable piece, not replaceable because he's bad, but you have the chance of you don't have to release a big name.
Yeah.
You can just try to bring in a fresh face, a fresh person. That's the only reason I think that this would happen. I hope not. Hopefully he's an Oriole. Like, I don't get me wrong. Talking about another Oriole that I hope stays is did Cedric Mullins do enough in the playoffs to stay an Oriole throughout the 2025 season and the 2024-2025 offseason? This is a guy that
he's not a free agent.
No, I know.
Yeah.
I think we trade him.
Okay.
So basically, I completely agree with you. So I think he would be a great trade piece. I don't know if I want it though. It's just because my man's the only person that did anything on our playoff roster.
Yeah.
It was like one of those things where he had a decent year. He's a great center fielder, above average center fielder in the field. At the plate, give or take. But I mean, guy, what?
He had one of the better second halves of the Orioles. He had a great offensive second half, and I know for those of you who listened way back when, which I know there's not many of you that listened before this season started, but I did think he'd be traded before. Yeah. Like he was one of my early trade candidates because I just knew there's teams that wanted him, and we needed pitching. Like I remember one of my very, very old mock-up trades was like a Jesus Luzardo Cedric Mullins swap.
Yeah.
And obviously Jesus Luzardo has fallen off, but Mullins, I think he's a guy that's going to be cool to keep around, just because you look at Colton Cowser's season. He had a really good season. You expect him to get better, and he's a really good defender. But if we get rid of Anthony Santander, okay, that leaves 2 starting outfielders, and then you say, well, now you have Heston Kjerstad. Say he steps up. Do you really want an outfield of Heston Kjerstad in left or right field, and then you have Cowser in center, and who else do you have?
Yeah.
Austin Slater, let's be honest, he's probably not going to be here next year. Unless you expect Jorge Mateo to be back and ready and put him in the outfield. Do you try to expect Kobe Mayo to be a corner outfielder? I know you have Judd Fabian and all these other prospects that are coming up, but I just think it wouldn't be worth it to not keep him.
No, I understand. It's just that's one of the ones where I'm looking at. I mean, here's something crazy. Cedric Mullins had 9 home runs after the All-Star break. Somebody else only had 9 home runs after All-Star break. Do you have any idea who that might be?
Gunnar Henderson.
Yeah. Oh, you suck. You're looking at
it. I did look it up. I promise.
Oh, really? You just knew that?
That was just me using my intuition of who you would have said because he had a lot of
that's
runs.
Crazy, right? I mean, so that's one of those things where he did well. He struck out less he struck out way less than Gunnar Henderson. And it's just one of the things that I like his veteran-ish leadership on our team. And so like I said, that's the only fear I have is that he did too good. Like he's a replaceable piece, and say the Orioles make a free agent acquisition of like a Teoscar Hernandez or somebody like that. I think Glenn Cowser is your center fielder.
Yeah.
And and left field will be somebody and Kerstjed. It'll be a mix. Or actually Teoscar would probably be on left, and then right field would be, a mix.
Oof. Yeah.
So
that'd be scary,
anyway,
though.
that's just a thought, right?
Yeah. Well, I think the hardest part is that when you're building an outfield for the Orioles, they keep in mind that left field is basically second center field.
Yep.
And if I had to assume, they're going to do whatever it takes to keep Heston Kjerstad out of left field long term. But
I agree.
Then my other thing's also kind of looking more into the future. It's just kind of based off of a couple at bats that were really, really rough in this postseason. What is the future for first base for the Orioles? Because Ryan O'Hearn, he did good in the postseason. He had probably, I would say, a top 3 postseason for the Orioles position players.
Right.
And I think he had a couple walks, really. That was it. But Mountcastle looked terrible.
Right.
He swung at the same pitch to strike out, I felt like, every at bat. It was just non-competitive at bats after non-competitive at bat. It was awful. What's the future for first base? Do we have O'Hearn is an option? I think it's mutual option. I'm not 100% sure. Do we keep him around?
It's a club option.
Okay, so that's purely on the club. Do we choose to keep him around? I think we should. Yeah. I personally think we should, because he's showed that he's good enough. Mountcastle, what's his long-term plan? Is he a trade candidate this year? Because we have Kobe Mayo coming up. There's another young hitter that his position's taken up right now. Does Samuel Basayo get transitioned at first? Does Adley Rutschman get transitioned to first base? These are all things we got to think about, because Rutschman's defensive capabilities are declining. He does better hitting, which in a poor offensive season, he did better hitting while DHing and not catching. Right. What does the future hold for, I think, first base? The Orioles take first base defensively as a position where they can just stick somebody.
Right.
You have Ramon Arias. He had a great season this year, right?
Right.
Well, compared to what we thought of Ramon Arias.
Absolutely.
Well, you have Jordan Westberg. You have Jackson Holliday. If Jackson Holliday is our long-term second baseman, Westberg is playing third base. Who does that leave for first base? Is Arias playing some first base next year? Is he going to split time at first base with Mountcastle and Mayo next year?
Right.
Who knows? I think it's a lot of question marks. And Mountcastle's postseason at-bats really scared me.
Yeah.
Really scared me.
Yeah. No, I feel you. I don't know. I think, the way Elias talked, it makes me feel like they want Mayo over there.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I need Mayo to be able to hit the ball. Like, obviously.
That would probably help.
Yeah, that would make this whole conversation much better. What's crazy is, I know you said it at the beginning of the season, is everybody, like including myself, thought this was that year of Holiday, or our young studs. And and Holiday was nothing, Mayo nothing.
Who was the best rookie on the team, Cody?
And I
who did I say was going to be the best rookie on the team?
I would have never said. I never. Oh, shut up.
You know who did say, though? You can go back. I will find this clip and I'll put it out on Instagram or something. I'll find the notes. I made my prediction that the best rookie for the Orioles this year was going to be Colton Cowser, and Jackson Holliday. I did predict that he was going to be good. I just predicted Cowser was going to be better. He didn't really be that good. He did. He had a terrible start, came back and did okay, but still pretty terrible. And who was there the whole season? Who was one of the best defensive left fielders in all of baseball this season? Who should win Rookie of the Year?
I'm not giving you any more credit. Oh, man. So what do we need for the 2025 postseason? I think
the Yankees salary cap.
Yeah. I still think we need starting pitching.
I definitely think so.
Because, and I say that only because Burns is gone. So
Burns is gone. Means is a free agent after this year. We still have Kyle Bradish is hurt. Tyler Wells is hurt. We still have all these injuries. Is Suarez going to be what he was this year next year?
Right.
Lot of question marks. What's Chase McDermott's future? What's Kate Povich's future?
Yeah.
We have Eflin. That's the one constant. Eflin and Kramer are who we know will be there next year no matter what. And if you had asked me to put money on it, Eflin, Kramer, Povich would be in our opening day rotation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Barring injury, I have to guarantee those three.
Right.
Additional to that, who knows?
Yeah, that's a must to get through the next season's playoffs. And then the other thing that I've learned that we need for the 2025 season is veteran leadership, but not just veteran leadership. Veteran leadership that has impact potential in our lineup.
Absolutely.
So I don't want some guy that's going to be off the bench that's been playing for 10 years. Yeah. Like I'm talking I don't need anything crazy, you know what I mean? But somebody that
you don't want
the
Robinson Chirinos Rugnito door signing.
No. So looking at the next year's free agents, I'm not saying Yoli Gurriel.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Well, Yoli Gurriel, what did he win? 2 World Series with the Astros, I think? One, maybe one. But that's not what that's not how I want. I'm saying more of somebody it's going to be in our lineups every day or almost every day. That's going to be able to, kind of push the envelope and then teach people how an approach to take in the playoffs and then show the young people the approach.
Yeah. Well, that's I know I was throwing some names at you earlier. Here's some names that I think could be interesting. This one I just found. Kike Hernandez.
Oh, Kike Hernandez, yeah.
Danny Jansen. That's a catcher option that for some reason we needed. Tyler O'Neill of the Red Sox. He'd be an interesting look. Good.
Absolutely.
And then the two that I'm most interested by, these two names. These are two that I find very realistic, and I would love to be on the Orioles. Now, it fills some problems we've been talking about. Christian Walker or JD Martinez.
Yeah, I love the JD Martinez one because that's a guy that is just he's been there, done that, and one of the best hitters, one of the best hitting player hitting coaches that is in the major leagues right now. But yeah, I mean we'll get more into obviously our free agent predictions, but that's just what I think we really need. We really need
absolutely
a veteran leadership that can make an impact, right? But we're gonna not be Debbie Downers the whole year. So
we'll be more happy next time.
Yeah, coming into our off season, our Utah Street Banter off season, we're going to start going to our off season schedule, which is every other week. So make sure you stay with us to kind of be able to tell when we're putting out. Just make sure you follow us on our social medias. Remember, we're on Facebook, Twitter, or X. Sorry, Facebook, X, Instagram. Obviously we're on YouTube, but we post information on our social media pages. So definitely give us a follow, keep up with us, and I promise we're not going to make you relive the playoffs in the next podcast.
We have some very interesting
we had to do our due diligence on this podcast, and
I would have to imagine that this is probably the last we'll talk about the playoffs. We have some very interesting topics that we're going to be talking about coming up here, so it's going to be really cool.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited. I mean, I know I've said it before, but one of the ones I'm excited for is your stadium reviews, because you've been to almost every stadium, and 26. Then we'll try to get your dad on here because he is a foodie that eats like a ton, and
he may have eaten almost every item at Camden Yards at some point.
Yes, he's at least been to every vendor.
Yes, 100%.
So we're definitely going to try to get that on, and we just got some fun things to talk about. It's not all going to be extremely, extremely Orioles, so we'll try to broaden our horizon, and then after the new year, we'll kind of zone back in. But so make sure you give us a listen, give us a watch throughout this off season, because the only reason we do it is for people to interact and watch and give us a listen. So without you, there's really no reason to do it. But other than that, we can't thank you enough for joining us on another episode here on the Utah Street Banter podcast. And we hope to see you in a couple weeks. All right, guys. See you guys. Thank you.